Hello, I'm Lisa Champeau. Welcome to Eat, Sleep, Play, a webinar produced by the AM Skyer Insurance Agency in a partnership with Wayne Memorial Hospital. This webinar was created for busy people like yourselves, people who want to sustain their energy from morning till night, who want to perform at the optimum level, and that's pretty hard to do in our busy lives. So with us today to talk about that, we have three panelists who will talk about eating, sleeping, and playing. One of our panelists earlier described this webinar as a three-legged stool. The stool is your life, and the three legs are exactly that. Healthy eating, good sleeping habits, and a bit of play. Throw one of those off balance, and your life is a little out of kilter, or maybe it's a lot out of kilter. Let's meet our panelists. First, Erin Tiffany. She's a registered dietitian. She has been guiding people through the jungle of food science and nutrition since 2006. She is also a certified nutrition support clinician. And I'm going to say it, Erin, you're also the mother of two young children, which means you're balancing life on a lot of different fronts. I know that our panelist on Play is also a father, so he's also balancing life. We also have with us Linda Vose, who is a registered polysomnographic, I know I'll get this, technologist, a specialist in sleep medicine. She works at Wayne Memorial Hospital Sleep Disorders Center, and she has been involved in sleep medicine for 13 years. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, because play is probably one of our favorite subjects, is Josh Heath. And he is the outdoor adventure team leader at Woodlock Lodge. He hails from the state of Maine, and he has more than a decade of experience in park management, in working with children, working with adults, and in play activities in general. And he's going to tell us why play is so important. But first, let's start with eating. Erin, how do we work healthy nutrition into our busy lives?
Well, Lisa, that's a really loaded question, and unfortunately it has many different things that we have to consider. And the number one thing we need to know is that this has to be a priority. There are very few things that we do multiple times a day, every day, like we do eating. That is something that has to be a part of our life, yet more often than not, it's overshadowed, it's an inconvenience, it's considered a luxury to step away from your desk and have lunch. But this is what's driving us and our ability to function. The way that you eat determines your strength, your endurance to get through these busy days. It can often determine your sleep quality. It determines your brain clarity and function. And you know, we only have one body. Yet we would never let our fancy car run out of gas because it's inconvenient to pull over and get gas. We would never fill it with diesel fuel just to get by. Yet we often will put things in our body that we know are not good choices, that we know are not beneficial to get the product that we want. But people don't seem to put that on the top of the priority list.
Well, we certainly have a lot of people today who work in busy jobs. They work in camps, they work in spas, they work at hospitals, they work at desk jobs. These are people who sometimes have to skip a meal. Have to is not the right word, is it?
No, they don't have to. What they have to do is prioritize. And those people would not skip their business meeting. That's not an option. And so neither should skipping a meal be an option. What they have to do is they have to plan ahead. They have to schedule it. They have to make choices that they know fit their schedule. These have to be sustainable changes. There are many fad diets out there where you either only drink for a week and you cleanse, or you completely eliminate food groups. None of these things are sustainable. So if you know that for you, lunch is something you're not going to sit down and enjoy, then you plan ahead and you take things with you that can at least provide you the nutrition and the energy you need to get through the day so that you have that available to you, and skipping meals should not be an option.
Well, a lot of people take with them power bars,
yes,
trail mix, things of this nature. Are they not good things to grab on the go?
You know, I watched a funny movie recently with my family, The Lorax, which is not new, in which they sell this product that's bottled air.
Okay, I haven't seen the movie.
Right.
It sounds great.
It's great. So when you open this up, there's nothing in it, and people are paying all this money because it's in a fancy package. And it really resonated with me because, and I'm sure, Josh, you see this in your clientele on the hikes, et cetera.
Yep.
People will say,
He's got the pet rock.
Right, exactly. People will say, oh, well, this bar was $5. I got it at Whole Foods. It's gluten-free. It's organic. This is the best choice. Well, you know what else is gluten-free and organic? An apple, a pear. Go back to real foods. These people need to figure out how to fuel themselves with whole foods, not the supermarket, the actual whole food. Trail mix can be a great option. If you buy nuts in bulk, you buy seeds in bulk, you add a little dried fruit that is not loaded with extra sugar, and you make that yourself, Trail mix is great. You can take that on hikes. You can put it in your purse, in your suitcase. It can be in your desk drawer. It lasts forever. But you know what's in it because you've put it together.
So are you a fan of the 3 meals a day?
I am a fan of eating when you are hungry.
Skipping breakfast?
Never.
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 Okay.
So we know that food takes a certain amount of time to digest and absorb in our bodies that can provide us energy. And so we're always looking to sustain an even energy level throughout the day. And that period of time is up to about 4 hours. When we sleep, we're hoping we sleep for about 8 hours. So that energy is gone. If you want to have proper brain clarity and function to get you through your day, you need to have breakfast. After that, it's really, what are the 4-hour intervals that you're awake and functioning, and what does your body need to do during that time? You don't need to eat right before you exercise, but you would likely need to eat after you exercise. So you need to fit it to your schedule and listen to your body as to eating when you're hungry.
And a lot of people who have, again, busy lives and have working lives eat in cafeterias. Is there any special advice you can give to people such as that?
We want our food to be less mathematic. We want it to be less of an equation. We don't need people walking around reading every label, counting calories, weighing all their food, measuring it. You should be able to walk through a cafeteria, look at the options, and understand how to balance your plate. So what they need to be doing is they need to be taking at least half of whatever container they're filling. They need to fill it with fruits and vegetables first, colorful fruits and vegetables, because nutrients are what give foods their nutrition. You know, they're looking at these salads that are pre-made, and oftentimes it's iceberg lettuce with dressing and some kind of other heavy meat additive. Sometimes there's fried Tostito chips in there. Just because it's a salad doesn't make it healthy. So if we can teach them exactly what to put on their plate in a cafeteria, like fruits and vegetables, lean protein, and also some carbohydrate, which is not a bad word. You know, people will say to me, oh, I don't eat carbohydrates, but they don't even know what it means. You know, we've got dairy products and fruits. There are plenty of carbohydrates that are beneficial to our health. So they need to learn what healthy food is so that they're armed with that knowledge when they walk through a cafeteria to make the proper choice.
So basically you're saying we should eat all the food groups.
Always.
And we should balance our plate.
Yes.
And we should eat 3 meals a day. I know,
You
just
added
don't skip
that 3
breakfast.
meals a day.
What about eating till you're full?
So this is something that I think we should look to children to learn from. Children, they don't have the stigma yet. They don't have the stereotypes and the expectations. They sit down, the food's in front of them, they want to eat it or they don't. And one thing that infuriates me, and my parents can attest to it, is when there are people around children saying, oh, great job, you ate all your food, and you can't get up until you've finished your plate.
The Clean Plate Club.
Yes, yes, and that's not what we need to teach people. People need to listen to their satiety signals. People need to stop when they've had enough to eat. The problem is, Lisa, we don't give ourselves time to figure out when that is. Yes, and so, you know, your body is very sophisticated, and when you put food in your mouth, you chew it. There's a hormone signal that sends to your stomach. It sends out digestive enzymes to help break down, digest, and absorb those foods. That sends hormone signals back to your brain that says, hey, I'm full, I've had enough. But we eat so quickly, we don't have time for that process to occur. And when that happens, we see all these people walking around with reflux, GI distress, bloating, and discomfort, and it's actually a major problem with weight gain because people overeat often and they don't even have the time to be aware of it.
A recent National Geographic documentary on longevity showed that some people in some groups eat till they're 80% full.
Yes.
And that contributes to their longevity, which makes sense, but how do you know when you're 80% full?
And that is the part where you slow down. You don't know when you're 80% full. What you know is when you're no longer feeling that strong hunger signal. You don't need to eat until you're uncomfortable. You're gonna have a next meal. It's going to be available to you. So what you need to do is use smaller portion sizes, eat slowly, take your time, and then take a break. You know, these people are busy. They've got things to do. So instead of staring at your phone while you eat for 10 minutes and focus on that. Then walk away, check your email then, and if you're still hungry 10 minutes later, come back, eat a little bit more, and that's okay. Or have snacks available to you to eat if you're fearful that you might get hungry later and run out of energy.
All right, well, let's talk for a second about foods that you can make at home.
Yes. It's always better to make foods at home. And this is not always something people have time to do on a daily basis. I can definitely speak to that. You know, I get home from the hospital where I work at 6 o'clock. My kids need to be asleep by 7:30. It's not a big time frame. And so what you can do is you can learn different ways to prep for the week. If you're making chicken breast on Sunday, instead of cooking 2, cook 6. Put the other 4 in your fridge and use them for salad toppers, tops of pastas, inside sandwiches, easy, quick lunches. And if you want to learn how to batch cook, that's a new trend right now. They're teaching people, or you cook multiple things like meatballs or multiple portions of grains like quinoa, and you let it cool and you put it in individual sized portions and put it in your freezer. Then before you go to work in the morning, just take it out and put it in your fridge. When you get home, it really is just piecing together your meal that's already prepared for you.
Batch cooking.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much. And if some of us think that we eat too much and some of us think that we don't eat enough, most of us, and I think I can say this, don't think we sleep enough. In fact, if I can ask our audience, how many people out here think that they get enough sleep? One person. That's it. Linda, how can we get more sleep? Why is sleep so important?
Sleep is so important because it affects every aspect of our life. The average adult should get 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And while we're sleeping, our body and brain, they're very busy. It's very busy producing hormones and chemicals to sustain our bodies throughout the day. Our brain is busy processing the information that we gathered during the day so that when we sleep, we can learn it. It's consolidating our memories. It's producing immune response cells so that we don't get sick as often. It fights off disease and things like that. So sleep is an active process as far as our body and brain goes.
My goodness, I'm tired just listening to what we're doing during sleep.
But it is so important, and we need to schedule sleep just like we schedule our other activities.
And how do we do that exactly? Because most of us can't.
Well, we need to make sleep a priority. As a matter of fact, you cannot sustain yourself very long without sleeping. It's just as important as the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink. Sleep is that important. So you can actually die sooner from lack of sleep than you can from lack of eating. So it's an essential body function. We need to do it.
How long can we go without sleep?
I think the record is probably 12 days or something like that.
And then the person would die?
Well, they have other issues. They'd start having seizures and things like that, and then eventually they would die. They've done experiments with astronauts, actually, where they've seen how long they can go without sleep.
So what are some of the things that we can do to help us get to sleep?
Well, the first thing is we need to acknowledge the fact that we need sleep, so we need to schedule it. One of the best things I can think of is to prepare ourselves for sleep. Our brain likes to be prepared. So at night before you go to, when it's getting close to bedtime, about 30 minutes to an hour, start turning down the lights in the house, maybe turn off the TV, but prepare yourself for sleep. Take a bath, a warm bath, change into your night clothes. If you have a nighttime ritual like meditation or some mild exercises like a yoga stretch or something like that, that would be okay. And turn your bedroom into a sleep sanctuary is what I like to say. You know, make sure you have a cool, dark, quiet place to sleep. Ideal temperature is 60 to 68 degrees. Make sure you have a nice, comfortable mattress, good pillows, good clean sheets. Make sure that you get rid of the clutter from the bedroom. You know, we can't sleep when we have all these things around us, you know.
Like TVs with digital clocks and...
Well, TVs, anything with a blue screen, we should get out of the bedroom. Often people will wonder why they can't sleep, but they have the TV on all night. And actually at night, these commercials are so much louder than when they are during normal hours, so that can disrupt your sleep. So you should get rid of the blue screens because it decreases the production of melatonin, which helps us to sleep at night. But also just the activity from the screens, maybe on the computer or on your cell phone playing a game or something, that activity is stimulating the brain to stay awake. And we don't want that at night. We need to prepare our bodies and brains to go to sleep.
Now, there are people who actually have their cell phones set to their bedtime, a bedtime alarm. In other words, at 10:30, I know I have to walk the dog, brush my teeth, turn off the TV, go to bed.
Yes, that's a great thing that's just come about. They have apps where it can alarm so that you know what you need to do. Or you don't even need an app. Just set your alarm when you want to go to bed and then have time to do these activities before you do go.
Now, I know I'm somebody, and I'm sure there are others who can relate to this, who sometimes when I go to bed at night, my brain just will not stop. It's just turning. What can I do at that moment? I've done everything else. My room is a sanctuary. I've turned off all the blue lights.
Okay.
Help.
What you can do is, I actually got this tip from a friend of mine. She said that she takes a pad of paper and a pen and puts it at the bedside table, and she writes down these things that come to mind. I have to pick the kids up at 4 o'clock tomorrow. So she writes that down. I have to do this tomorrow. You write all these things down on the pad, and it's almost as if you're taking it from your brain and putting it onto the paper. So it allows you to kind of forget about it, so to speak.
Sure, when you wake up in the morning, there's the paper reminding you
your
to
list.
do all those things, and you're exhausted even looking at the list.
Right.
But sleep deprivation is a very, very serious issue.
Oh my goodness, it's become a major health problem now because the Centers for Disease Control recently came out and said 1 out of 3 adults are not getting adequate sleep. The average adult should get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Well, their statistics are saying that the average adult is getting less than 6 hours per night, which is having not only short-term effects on your body, but has long-term effects physically and mentally. So, and actually there's a lot of attention being towards drowsy driving now, because drowsy driving is actually the same as driving while intoxicated. If you're awake for 17 to 19 hours, it's like having a couple of cocktails. And if you're awake for over 24 hours, it's over the legal limit of drinking. So it's like
being
driving.
drunk.
Yes, exactly. So we all need to pay attention to our sleep needs and determine how many hours of sleep that we need in order to wake up feeling refreshed, alert, and ready to go.
How do you know when your sleepiness is a disorder? In other words, it's something where you actually have to seek help.
If you have good sleep hygiene, which is what I talk about that's what I refer to when I talk about the having a nice cool room to sleep in, and you go to bed, you get adequate sleep. If you're waking up, if you're practicing good sleep hygiene and you're waking up and you're still tired, kind of pay attention to that. Do you have kids coming into the bedroom at night disrupting your sleep? Do you sleep with your dog? Is your bed partner snoring? Are there disruptions that you maybe didn't recognize before? And think about that. And if everything seems to work out okay and there's nothing else going on, then maybe it's time to talk to the doctor. And maybe you need a sleep study to see if there is something going on.
Have you seen an uptick in the number of patients coming to the sleep clinic?
Yes, mostly people who are not practicing good sleep hygiene, actually. We do see, there's over 84 sleep disorders, actually, but there's most people come in because they're not practicing good hygiene, or we do have an awful lot of people nowadays that have sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea, where their airway is collapsing and causing them to have a lot of disruptions at night. So there's a lot of people.
That would be a sleep disorder.
Yes. There's over 70 million people out there that have a sleep disorder and don't realize it.
Well, we're glad there are people like you who can help them out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And now, Josh, it's time to play. They say that play is the gateway to vitality, and I think you're somebody who probably knows a lot about that.
Yeah, I probably look pretty young. I think.
Why is play important?
Well, I think back to we've both talked about kids, Aaron and Linda. So now it's my turn. I think when you're kids, we encourage you to play. That's why a lot of parents put kids in daycare. If you don't go to daycare, maybe you go to some type of a play group. And it's because you learn those essential skills: cooperation, disappointment. Joey took my toy. I think so. You learn how to deal with disappointment, anger, feelings. It's fun. I think we play because it's fun. You can learn those in teamwork. If you play competitive sports, oftentimes you play a team sport, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. There's pieces that you learn. Maybe as you get older, you become the second starter. You're not the number one person anymore, so you learn how to deal with those feelings. And then there's individual things that you can do: art, music. So there's many ways we can play.
So is there any kind of play that's better than another kind of play in terms of reducing stress?
Well, I think...
brain games versus, say, kayaking or walking in the woods or...
That could be a personality.
Exercise.
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm not playing brain games too long. I got to be
You're
moving.
out in the woods.
I'm moving. Now, if you're a person where you don't like bugs, you don't like being outside, you don't like to move, maybe the sun bothers you. It doesn't matter how much sun protection you put on, heat and that kind of thing. So maybe you're going to drift in a different direction. I'd say no, all play. Play as much as you can in all different ways. Personally, I'm going outside. That's where I'm going to go. And I'm going to tend to, recently I found Shinrin-yoku, which is a Japanese form of walking meditation. It translates, Shinrin-yoku is a Japanese word, and it translates to basking in the forest or forest bathing. And
forest bathing.
Forest bathing. I'm not taking a bath. My
That's right, with your clothes on.
Clothes are on. No tubs, no showers. You're going to bathe in the forest atmosphere. You're going to take in the natural phytoncides that are in the forest. And as you breathe those in, hopefully what's going to happen, and what I've seen happen to people, is initially your pulse rate and your heart rate's going to go down. Blood sugar is probably going to decrease as well. And then hopefully the end game is proteins, cancer proteins, fighting ability, our natural killer cells in our body will increase, and long-term health effects will begin. But that's numerous sessions of that,
Well, I was just going to say, at the lodge where you work, you probably see people coming in very wound up. And then...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My favorite's the Friday arrivals.
Oh.
They come in, they're right out of their car, they've driven in from one of the major metros, usually New York City or Philadelphia, and they're tight, they're wined right in. That's my favorite, if I can get them on a Friday, because the stark difference between Friday and Sunday is amazing.
And what do you do? Do you sort of take them into the woods gradually, or?
Well, there's a lot of things. Some of them, they do it on their own, just naturally through massage or going to we have over 30 classes a day that they can participate in, from hippie yoga to drums alive to Shinrin-yoku that we do, hiking, biking, kayaking, depending on the season. So there's many ways that they can engage in that, kind of letting things go. Oftentimes we hear that it's the best sleep they've gotten.
They sleep better.
Because the room's cool, it's dark. We have a great culinary team that works with food and things like that. So they're eating different small portions, which some people, especially men, don't tend to do.
That's right, Aaron. You forgot to mention other people cooking for you.
So there's a lot of.
So by
ways.
Sunday, they're really much more relaxed.
Yeah.
And how do they carry that into their work week?
Well, hopefully they'll take some of that stuff away. They'll take some of the things that we do in the outdoors, realize that there is kind of a sanctuary there as well. Maybe they'll take some of the classes they've tried. Maybe they've realized they really fell in love with yoga, and they'll sign up at a studio by their house, and they'll continue to do that. If not, maybe some of the eating habits they realize they need to get back to, because there's water everywhere at the lodge. There's water, you can't turn without having water. So often I hear from guests how better they feel just because they've been drinking the entire 24 or 48 hours they've been there.
Drinking water, you mean?
Yeah, just water. Well, they might have had some wine too, but
We didn't talk about that form of relaxation.
I really think that playing is the key piece to finding things that you enjoy. That's the way you're going to make it a habit. It's just like, Aaron talked about these crazy fad diets. If you do something because somebody tells you have to, it's not going to last. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And I think, Shinrin Yuko is something I've found in the last 2 years that I just fell in love with. It's easy. You can do it for 15 minutes or you can do it for 3 hours at a time. And the effects are amazing. And I think the people that I talk to that feel that way about yoga too. They get into yoga and they really enjoy it and they find that it's easy to do. And some of that stuff you can take home with you. I think if you can bring it home and do it in your regular day, not just when you're away on vacation, the lasting effects will
And
be
you
there.
did talk a little bit before we actually went on air, so to speak, about doing things with your children. And if your children have some kind of game that they're in, maybe you can find an adult version of that game.
Yeah, for me, my kids both do swim and gymnastics, and there's a lot of the women that are at gymnastics that do an adult gymnastics. It's later at night, so oftentimes the kids will go with the other parent or they'll stay and it's after their practice. There's a lot of ways that you can swim. There's organized softball leagues in a lot of places too that anybody can get involved in. And if there's something you're really passionate about, start your own. There's usually people that live around you that probably have the same likes that you have, and it doesn't take that much to start an activity. Ask around the coffee shop. There's going to be ways that can do it, and simply maybe walk the dog. As easy, as crazy as that sounds, that can get you outside. It's something you have to do anyway, and then you can get your kids involved with that as well.
Most of us, or some of us, know that going to a gym can be tough. But once you get going, once you start going, then you make it part of your routine. What do you tell people about how much they should play or exercise in their life? Like half an hour a day, 10 minutes a day, 2 hours a week?
That's really, that's really probably a conversation they should have. If you're in physical good health, I think, an hour a day is probably not going to be negative in any
Helpful.
way. But if you have some kind of physical ailments, don't jump in all at once. Kind of 15 minutes, kind of increment your way up to probably, I wouldn't do any more than an hour. I think that, if you're going to go aggressive, now we do 3-hour hikes, but they're not usually 3 hours a hike. There's some transportation involved in that, different setup, takedown. So I'd say max 2 hours, because oftentimes we don't have time for that.
Oh, absolutely. Making the meals and feeding your children and working, it's hard to fit in 2 hours.
15 minutes is perfect, because there's got to be 15 minutes that you can carve out of your day to do something that's going to benefit you.
That's true. Ladies, do you agree?
I would agree, totally.
All right, well now, thank you very much, Josh. I think we have some questions that we received online, as well as perhaps some questions from the audience. I'm going to ask a couple of questions now. Here's one from Tabitha. I travel multiple times a year for work and help in various events that can be 2 to 3 days long. What are some disciplines I need to keep in mind while I'm on the road and or during an event? That sounds like all of you can answer that question. Which it also might relate, by the way, to something that's coming up, which is daylight savings, where you have to turn your clocks spring ahead. So sleeping becomes a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people tend to neglect when they travel is their sleep. And one way that she could, help herself is to keep her regular bedtime and wake up time if possible, because that's going to generate, a routine that she's used to. So
That's tough if you're in a different time zone.
well, that's true too, but to just try to keep consistency and recognize the importance of sleeping. As far as daylight savings time, I think, from now until Sunday, we should start going to bed about 15 minutes earlier than what we typically do, and maybe set your alarm or your clock ahead on Saturday during the day instead of waiting until doing it Sunday morning, and just kind of adjust to the time, accept that time change, and not calculate how much time you're losing every while that change is going on. So a lot of people get caught up in that, you know, they think, oh, I'm losing this, I'm
That's
losing
right.
that.
That's right. I'm not going to make that appointment because
Yeah, yeah, but you know, just accept it and then, you know, go with it. That's all I can say.
What about food, eating when you're traveling?
Traveling can be very difficult to stick to healthy eating. And one of the things I always suggest to people is taking snacks with them. We talked about the nut seed-based trail mix. Those are good options. You can get nut butters, like healthy nut butters, in little packages that are shelf stable, that travel easily. You can add that to whole fruit for a good protein carbohydrate combination. And look ahead. If you know where you're going to be eating at night, you can pull up those menus online and you can see what's in it. And often, the laws are passing in every state at different times, but restaurants have to give the nutritional content of their food. So if you look online, you can find the nutritional content. And as I was alluding to earlier, with people just picking the salad, which actually may not be the healthiest choice, they may see that the salad at the restaurant's 1,100 calories, but the hamburger, which is just grass-fed beef with some lettuce and tomatoes and a whole wheat bun, might actually only be about 450
Hopefully
calories.
it's grass-fed beef.
Hopefully, it depends where you're eating, where you're traveling. But that's knowledge. You know, knowledge is power. If you can look ahead at the menus and you can make choices based on where you're going, then you can go in with a positive attitude to the meal, knowing you've already got a good choice waiting for you.
All right, thank you. Here's a question from Joel. I usually have to take 2 naps a day. He's about 70 years old. Is this consistent with my age and work style? He doesn't share his work style, but let's just say he works.
Well, if he's used to taking 2 naps a day, if he is limiting his naps to 20 to 30 minutes each, setting an alarm so that he doesn't oversleep those naps, then it's probably okay if he's able to fit that into his lifestyle. If it's become a habit, you know, where he's taking 2 naps. If he's napping because he actually can't function without a nap, then I would suggest having a conversation with the doctor, see what's going on maybe.
30 minutes, not past 30 minutes for a power nap.
Nothing past 30 minutes because
What happens then?
You actually you start a sleep cycle and then you can wake up feeling exhausted from the sleep cycle because you're actually experiencing what we call sleep inertia, where you're going into sleep and then you're waking up. And
So it's like the reverse effect.
yeah, so it's not good.
It's not healthy.
Just 20 to 30 minutes.
All right, here's another one. I'm eating and exercising healthy, so why am I tired when I wake up after a full night of sound sleep? Is this an indicator of something wrong while I'm sleeping? Blood flow to my heart?
I would evaluate and ask this person if they're sleeping with their dogs or their cats. Is their bed partner disrupting their sleep? Maybe is a child coming in and disrupting the sleep? You know, if there's disruptions during the night, then that could be causing some daytime sleepiness.
So a couple of questions to ask, maybe a sleep diary.
Yeah, a sleep diary would be great.
All right, I understand we have some questions from the audience. Hi, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Karen.
Hi, Karen.
I have a hard time with making food choices. Is there one meal plan that can help guide me?
Karen, that's a great question. And actually, it is the question that I receive most often. People say, listen, I don't know where to start with this. I don't want to put a lot of thought into it. I don't have any time for that. Can't you just print something out and give it to me? I wish I could. I wish I could. And the problem with that is one size does not fit all. I'm sure if you asked the 3 of us what our favorite foods are, most of them don't cross over. And so if I gave you a pre-designed meal plan, it's likely something you could stick to for 1, 2, maybe 3 weeks, but then you're going to lose that enjoyment of food. You're much better off powering yourself with knowledge, going to a registered dietitian, and look for those words very clearly, as opposed to just a wellness or nutrition expert. Registered dietitians are trained to do this. You can sit down, you can tell them, these are the foods I like, this is what doesn't sit well with me, these are the times I have, and they can create a meal plan based on your needs that would then be sustainable and would meet your lifestyle and your desires.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question? What's your name?
Joanna.
Joanna?
Hi, I was wondering, I know that you put schedules on everything, but for play, is that something you should schedule daily and at the same time daily? Is it more of a routine or just something just to put into your lifestyle?
Yeah, if it works for you, the schedule is great. That way you don't skip it. But if you're one of these people that can get it in without a schedule, then that's probably okay. I would definitely try to schedule some stuff in. That way you can do it. I feel if you make an investment, I've talked about before, like if you pay for a gym membership or you pay for a music class or you go to an art class, the second Friday of every month, and you've made some kind of monetary investment, you're probably going to go. So maybe it's not so much of a schedule, but it's a commitment. Maybe it's a jogging group with your friends, a book club. And anytime you make some time of a commitment, we tend to stick to it. If it's just, I think I want to go for a hike today, it may not happen. It's a nice day, I ought to go for a walk. And then everything happens. The school calls, the kids are sick, your friend called. So you just don't happen. I think if you can schedule 15 minutes would be great, 15 minutes, because then it gives you time enough to do a lot of the little things. If you're got the time, probably an hour, a day would be great, because then you could get into something a little more, maybe it's a little further from your home, a little more in depth into a project. 15 minutes is pretty quick. So those would be those smaller things, games, reading. But if it's more of a commitment, hiking, biking, kayaking, the Shinrin-yoku that I referenced, an hour to an hour and a half would be fantastic.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? We have one more question coming up. Hi, what's your
Hi,
name?
I'm Gretchen.
Hi, Gretchen.
I have a tendency to wake myself up 2 or 3 times in a morning by hitting the snooze button. What are your thoughts about the snooze button?
I think they should remove the snooze button from all alarm clocks.
No snooze button.
No snooze button. Because what happens is when you hit the snooze button, you actually go back to sleep. And I was talking about the sleep cycles. We actually go back into a sleep cycle. And so when you wake up, you most often will wake up feeling a little bit more tired and maybe groggy, a little bit of brain fog. So I recommend that you just get up as soon as the alarm goes off. Just turn it off and get up out of bed.
She's being very kind, by the way, like Seinfeld soup Nazi. She's a snooze button Nazi. No snooze button.
No snooze button.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gretchen. One thing we didn't talk about, I have a quick question, and that's water. How much water do we really need?
That is based on the person, and it's based on what you do during the day. So it used to be 8 cups a day, but one size doesn't fit all. Water makes up the majority of your body, and it used to be thought that coffee and teas dehydrated you, and so that you had to have extra water to account for that. But now in more recent research, we realize that there's no dehydration effect from that the liquid you consume in those beverages counts as well. So the clinical answer is you drink a milliliter for every calorie you eat.
Wow.
That's the clinical basis. And then you look at the real person. And is that person then also running 2 hours or sitting under hot lights and sweating a lot? And if that's the case, then they need to drink a little more water. So it really is, if you feel thirsty, that's already too late. If you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So you need to continue to have water with you at all times to just drink throughout the day.
And probably not drink after a certain time at night, is that correct?
I would say so, because it does disrupt your sleep later in the night, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you all for being with us, and thank the audience as well. And we have some questions online. I'm so sorry. Yes.
We have a question from Mitch. He's asking, what do you think about white noise for sleeping?
Good question.
It's a
White
very good
noise.
question, and a lot of people do like white noise while they're sleeping. It just helps to calm the mind and soothe the soul, so to speak. But yeah, a little white noise is good if you can tolerate that. I myself, I wear earplugs when I sleep because I'm very sensitive to noises. So white noise, even the machines that make the nature sounds are great too. So if it's better than having a TV blaring in the room.
And we also have another one from Paul. A friend of his has been diagnosed with osteoporosis. Are there any activities such as skiing, biking, running that he should not do?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say, anything that's going to irritate that, I would stay away from. I would try to do things in a small dose and see if it bothered him, and definitely talk to his doctor about it for sure.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions? from the audience or online? Well, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you, our audience, learn nothing else today, we hope that you do leave with the fact that eating healthy, sleeping right, and a little bit of play are not options. These are essential to life. Thank you.